Hey y'all, it's y'all favorite cozy girl, Chi the Reality Queen, and I am back again with another episode of Robe Chronicles. Tonight, we're going to talk about SummerHouse Martha's Vineyard, Season 2, Episode 3. Okay, so this episode pretty much starts off where the last one ended with Nick asking Summer and Jordan about if he makes them feel uncomfortable when he's touching them and stuff like that. And he's basically like, you know, I didn't know I was making you guys feel uncomfortable because I thought we were really good friends. And they're like, the thing is he thinks that he's making them uncomfortable, but it's not him making them uncomfortable. It's them feeling uncomfortable about the fact that he has a girlfriend. And I mean, everybody was really nice because you could tell that they're really, really friends and they don't want to like hurt his feelings or make him like take it the wrong way or anything. And I kind of get it because I said it like last episode. If you have a girlfriend and I don't really know her, and then you're being handsy with me, I'm going to feel like, dang, I don't want her to think something because again this is on a show, this is being recorded, and again Nick can have whatever relationship with Tasia, but Jordan and Summer don't. So I just think that the conversation was actually really mature, and I think it was good for Nick to kind of realize what he was doing without any harm. I know he probably felt away because it's kind of jarring to be told something about yourself that maybe you don't realize, but I do think that overall it went well. Then Shanice, calls her mom and she's really close with her. And of course, Shanice has a white mama. That did not surprise me in the least. Um, yeah. She tells her mom about, what Summer said about her clothes and this and that. And her mom was like, is she jealous of you and this and that? And low key, her mom about that action because her mom was talking about beat her up and whatever, like jokingly. But it was just funny because I mean, her mom is really about it on the lowest of keys, which I didn't expect, but she was. Um, then Noelle and Alex are talking in the kitchen and they're like flirting a little bit. And you could tell that Noelle is trying to like test the waters with Alex, see where they can get into. And honestly, I like Noelle. I don't like Alex. I don't know. He's never done anything. I don't know that man. I know him from the show, but I don't think he's right for her. Even though she's like, oh, he's my type. I'm just like, ugh, leave him. Find someone else. So they're planning a neon party, and I think this is Shanice's party. She's planning. Um, and so they go outside, and the party has like inflatables and like an inflatable slide, and they're doing all this stuff, and it looks fun. One thing I've noticed about Summer House, and I haven't watched the other franchises, so I don't know exactly how they go, like the winter houses and stuff, is I'm like, they really be having fun with the same 10 people. I don't know about everybody else, but I don't know if I could joyously party with the same 10 people over and over. I think by night 3, I'm gonna be like, good night. I'm tired. I'm not I'm not coming to party with you again. Like, but they do, and like I said, it looks fun, but it just I don't know. It's crazy to me. But then it starts raining. And so like I guess, Shanice being Shanice is like, oh, I'm gonna get naked and slide down the inflatable or whatever. And it's so funny. Bria's like, I love naked Shanice. I just didn't like naked Shanice because she was naked in front of my man. And I'm like, because there's a difference, right? Like she's like, I don't care if she's naked in front of other people's men, but she can't be naked in front of mine. But I think again, Shanice is a free spirit and it's good, but it's funny because she has a lot of insecurities. Like I don't think Shanice is getting naked because she's really a free spirit. I'm starting to think that Shanice is getting naked because she doesn't want people to focus on her insecurities. So if she's loud and naked and running around and doing all these things, then people won't focus on the parts of her life that she doesn't want people to focus on. That's just my thought. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm feeling like. And I like Shanice. Actually, I think she has a couple of faults, but who doesn't? I think she's very likable. But she does have that, and I think that's why she gets naked, personally. I mean, not saying she isn't a fun time girl, but I think that fun time is masking some things. Um, Anyways, Shanice has some friends coming over because, this is her party she's throwing. And she invites her friend Hendrix, and Hendrix brings his friend. And Hendrix apparently was friends with a guy that she used to date. And, production's like, well, have you hooked up with Hendrix? And she's like, no, Hendrix actually slept with another friend of mine. So we never actually hooked up. Um, and then he immediately, like, when he gets in, I don't know what he is, if like he's white or Persian or whatever, or maybe even mixed black. I feel like it was kind of dark. Like, I couldn't really see him or his friend. They didn't really make an impression, and they only showed them for like about 2 minutes. But he immediately comes in and starts flirting with Noelle, and like heavy on the flirting. But I think, Noelle's a cute girl, and then she has that accent, and then she has those eyes, and then I think she's actually pretty, like, funny. So it kind of works. Like, she has a personality that's like likable, and people want to like talk to her and whatever. And so they're like flirting, and they decide to eat a cupcake together. I'm like, this has transpired so quickly. First of all, where did these cupcakes come from? Like, number one, y'all in the pool, where did these cupcakes come from? Number two, why are you sharing cupcakes with this man? And number three, what's going on for real? Like, it just was so random, and it happened so quickly. But when you're out and you're drinking, you're having a good time, things happen. Um, then they decide they're gonna go out, like out to the club. And I'm like, if I got my hair wet, and it's funny because Jasmine talks about black girl math and getting your hair wet and washing it in this, and I'm like, if I was in the pool at any point today and my hair got wet and it wasn't in a protective style, I'm not going nowhere. That wig need to lay out and dry. Like, somebody's got to wash it and dry it. And you think I'm gonna make it out to go to the club in like 30 minutes to an hour? Oh no, baby, I will be sleeping. So some of them do decide to go out. I think Preston, Jasmine, Shanice, or Bria. Some people decide to stay in, and some people decide to go out. Um, and when they get back, I think, or maybe when they, no, before they go to get dressed, you know, Noel asks Alex, like, oh, when was your last relationship? And he was like, oh, this past summer. It was a little complicated. I had a little something going on. And I'm like, is he talking about summer? Because now this is getting weird. Why wouldn't you just say her name? Or maybe he did this past summer. Shit, maybe he was talking about her and not the season. I didn't think about that. But maybe it was someone else, which also, is fine. But, you know, I'm like, right now, based on the way they're showing it, it seems like Noelle is doing a lot when it comes to Alex. That's how it's being portrayed, and I don't like that. She don't seem like the girly that need to do a lot, and right now they got her doing a lot. um then Jordan goes to talk to Shanice, and she asks if she's going to talk to Summer, like, about the clothing thing and how she didn't like it and whatever. And she's like, yeah, but she's like, I don't know if I want to do it now or whatever. And Jordan's like, you need to. Sometimes you got to check people and let them know how what they did made you feel. And she goes, I had to check, Summer earlier this year over this and this and that or whatever. And it's funny because I feel like Jordan is like kind of controlling. She always wants to control how people react and what they do and stuff like that. And I'm kind of like, I don't, I don't know why she's like that. Like, it's a little weird. Like, she feels like she's like the authority on getting people together and how they should go about it. And it's kind of annoying because I feel like this isn't the first time she's done that. She did this last season too. Like, she feels like she gets to be that final say on how people should approach people and what they should do. And it's just kind of like, okay, Jordan, girl, shut up. So, yeah. Then when they're driving, you know, or when they come back, I think, and they're going like grocery shopping or whatever, they ask, this is the next day, they're asking Noelle about Hendrix, and she was like, oh no, he was somebody that thought I should be all over him just because like he showed interest. And she's like, that's not the type of girly I am. And I'm like, okay, if that's not the type of girly you are, why are you doing this to Alex? Or maybe because Alex is more your type, and Hendrix and Alex look nothing alike. They're just both tall. So I'm like, maybe Hendrix is not that attractive to you. Like you find him to be nice, like looking or whatever, but he's not like super attractive to you like Alex might be. So you're moving a little different. But yeah, and then she was like asking her about Alex, like, oh, we saw y'all flirting, and what does that mean, or what's going on with that? And she was like, oh, it's cool or whatever. And then she was asking Amir, like, what does he think about me? And Amir's like, oh yeah, he thinks you cool. Like, he trying to see if there's like actual compatibility and not just like chemistry or whatever. And she's like, okay, well, what do you think? And she starts trying to give a hypothetical about like if your friend had to, they were like, Summer, like, girl, can we cut to the chase? And she's like, yeah, like she's like, I feel like uncomfortable about it. And Preston was like, don't, like, Summer doesn't care, supposedly. So then um Noelle starts talking about how she's only had one serious relationship. This is in her like confessional. And she's saying like since she's been in New York, and like the guy basically was like, can't wait to get to back to Atlanta to the hoes or something like that. And she was like, oh, this is for play for you. I'm not, yeah. And then so she dropped him. And that was the end of her one relationship. But yeah. Then, like I said, when she was asking that hypothetical before, Preston was like, oh, well, you and Summer could be exchanging like dick stories or whatever. And I just think that's funny because I think Summer cares more than maybe we're letting on. Maybe she doesn't, but it feels like she does. Like little things that she does. Or maybe the camera is just panning to her and it's not a reaction to that moment, but something else. Like, I don't know. Um, then uh Jasmine, they come back, and Jasmine talks about Mariah coming to Martha's Vineyard was the first time her and Mariah's friendship was really tested because she had to send her home the last time because of what happened with Bria. And so she said it was like really, really hard for her. And then Summer and no, not Summer, Shanice and Bria, they want Phil to come back because they're friends with him. And I hate to be that person that judges people like birds of a feather flock together. But I'm like, how good of people can Bria and Shanice be if they are really like fighting for Phil to come because that's their boy? And then it kind of makes me question Mariah because Mariah ended up being really cool with Phil. And I'm like, this is a grown man who shit in a toilet and didn't want to flush it. I don't know. It's a hard sell for me. Phil is going to have to really show himself to be someone different. And I don't know where he's going to show it because I don't never want to see him back on that show. And I don't follow him on Instagram or anything. So I don't know where he would show his new behavior or changed behavior. And I don't think he's changed. So there's that. Um, then they come back from going grocery shopping, and Noelle's like, oh, I brought Alex lunch. Like, don't, it's from me. I brought him this lunch. So she comes back into the house and she's like, oh, Alex, I brought you back some food. It's vegan. And he looks at it and he's like, oh, it's tofu. I don't really like tofu. Somebody did you a solid. Okay, maybe it's not that solid because it's food you don't like, but you could be a little more appreciative. You could tell she's trying to like extend that olive branch and be a little flirty and nice and try to, get on your good side. And I feel like Alex just wasn't very receptive of it. Like he was kind of weird about it. Like I didn't really like it. I'm like, she was like, oh, well, it's the thought that counts or whatever. And I'm just like, you should have snatched that little container back, like, thank you. and just, because if you're not going to be grateful, then damn, I get it. Like if somebody came and brought me food that I didn't like, I would be like, oh, dang, like I don't eat this, but I'm so grateful, like that you even thought of me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It was just kind of weird, his response. I don't know. I try to attribute weird things to editing. Like maybe they edited it so he didn't look like he was that grateful. That's probably the best way I can look at it. Um, so then they start giving Amir a list of black movies he needs to watch because he's never seen them. And I'm just like, Amir, come on. Like, I haven't seen a lot of black movies, but I've seen the ones that need to be seen, I think. Yes, I've seen the one that need to be seen, in my opinion. Okay. When people test me, I've at least heard of them because he hadn't even heard of them. Okay. So I've heard of them. Some of them I've watched. I don't have to have watched all of them, but dang, he is like completely out of it. But I wholeheartedly believe that people who are mixed with black and the black parent is the father, whereas the non black parent is the mother, that will be the culture that they take on because people get their culture from their mothers. They get what they know about themselves from their mothers. Because let's just be honest. Well, one, Amir's dad wasn't even around. But two, most fathers don't feel the need to like be like, oh, let's do this family thing or do this. So it's usually the mothers that kind of push that. So when you're looking at what people know and the culture they know, it usually tends to come from the mother. So if your mama ain't black, chances are you're not black, or at least don't behave the same that other black people behave. You don't behave in that manner. So that's just my belief. I could be wrong, but that's the way it seems. It seems like most people get their culture from their mothers. So Jasmine calls a house meeting, and someone jokes, the spirit of Silas is in Jasmine. Because honestly, how many house meetings do y'all need to have? Like, I mean, I guess this is the first one for the season, and hopefully it's the last one for the season. But yes, they had a house meeting. And I think it was necessary because if no one knows that people had planned to invite guests, then it's kind of like, what's going on. Like Shanice brought her first guest in, Hendrix, and it didn't seem like anybody knew what was happening, or maybe she did tell people, but it's kind of like, okay, what's going on? Um, so Bria asked about Phil coming, or Jasmine asked because she's trying to make it neutral. She asked the group about Phil coming, and immediately everybody is like, no. Preston says no. Amir says no. Jordan says no. Uh, Alex says no, and Nick says no by like, it's not looking like we need him to come. Boom. Then they ask about Mariah, and everybody's like, oh, okay, yeah, we can bring Mariah. And Bria is like, you know what? I can't. And she gets up and walks off. She's like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. You can bring her or whatever. And she kind of just walks off and she's angry because she feels like people aren't considering her and her safety and what happened. And I'm like, to their defense, your problem with Mariah started because you wanted to start talking crazy. And if I'm correct, got physical first. I can't remember. They got to play it back. Roll the scene. I don't have it, and it's copyrighted, so I can't play it. But I think she was the one that initially got physical, and if she didn't, sorry, Bria. But I feel like she got physical first, and then Mariah then pushed the towels or whatever into her, but it was just weird. And then so Bria's like, whatever, I don't care. Then Bria and Shanice go to call Phil to let him know that he can't come because, the group doesn't want him. And it's crazy because he basically they basically try to blame it on Preston, because Preston says that he's uncomfortable with Phil coming because of how Phil treated him, almost like, oh, because you're gay, you're soft. And he had like made comments like that. And he was like, that's not the type of energy, like, I want to be around. And so later we see Preston, like while they're on the phone with Phil, we see Preston like crying. He's like, I feel so uncomfortable. I feel so unprotected. And I get it, because especially like, it's kind of like when you're a Black person, you're the only Black person in the space, and people trying to bring you into a space that's not conducive for an only Black person. That's how Preston felt being the only gay person. It's like, y'all are cool and y'all don't bother me, and there's no problem, but you're trying to bring someone into the space who has maybe a problem with my lifestyle, or maybe indirectly, because he makes kind of like little comments about it. And so Preston just felt really uncomfortable. And I get it. If he feels like his safety or his mental health will be at risk, then sorry. Like, but I didn't like how Bria and Shanice tried to make it seem like it was just Preston. Like, oh, Preston doesn't want you here and he doesn't feel comfortable. Girls, nobody wanted him there. Nobody. Even Jordan was like, we almost got into an altercation. Like, and he never apologized and whatever. So I think it's crazy of them to think, oh, we're going to bring this person back that hasn't spoken to anybody or apologized to anybody, and we're going to put them in this space. I'm like, that it's like y'all didn't think that one through. It was weird to me. But then while on the phone, Phil tells them, like, oh, I talk to Mariah every day. She already told me that she was coming, and I was planning to link up with her there. Because apparently, when they both had to leave at the same time, they ultimately became close. So then Bria's like, wait, what do you mean? So Noelle had come over and she's listening in on the conversation now. And she's like, what do you mean? It's a vote. We all have to agree on the guest. And Phil was like, no, she told me she was going and that Jasmine already bought her ticket. So she was coming through regardless. So now Bria is like, wait a minute. So she didn't even care about how I felt because she already bought this ticket before we even came. So now she's trying to play. She's trying to come to our faces, act like it's a vote, but she already had done everything for the girl to come. Like, so our vote really didn't matter. So, I kind of agree with Bria here. Like, it's difficult, right? Because maybe the flight was cheap on this day, and so maybe she just wanted to buy the ticket ahead of time and take care of it like that. But it kind of does seem weird that you would already have the ticket. I guess you should, like, because Phil was already coming, right? Not with them, but he was already coming, so then they just invited him. So he was technically already invited, and then they had to call him and say, hey, no go. So Mariah was already invited and they bought the ticket. And maybe if the group said no, then Jasmine would have said, okay, sorry, the group doesn't want you back. So I think it's a little different. Then we see Jordan. She's crying in the bathroom about her hair falling out. And, Summer's trying to support her. I think, like I said, some Jordan is going through a very difficult time. Like she says, for Black women, our hair is our currency. And if she doesn't have it, then, she feels like a part of her is missing. And I feel so sorry for her and anybody else who's going through that process of losing their hair for whatever reason. It's not always alopecia, right? It could be any reason. It's difficult, especially not just as a Black woman, but as a woman in general. I think hair means so much to us, right? We have been kind of taught to believe the longer your hair, the more feminine, right? Because when we're kids, little girls' hair is able to just grow, where boys, they cut it. And so I get that's from a young age, we're just pretty much taught that if you don't have hair, you're not a girl. So I do really feel bad for Jordan on that score. It kind of really sucks. But they're getting ready for dinner. And Alex comes out in this shirt. And Preston's like, I like your Gordon Gartrell. I am so sad that they did not use that opportunity to insert. Oh, did they? Now I'm trying to remember if they inserted the photo or if I just saw that on Twitter. See, now I'm mistaking it. That's why I got to do these videos earlier, like immediately before I start reading the hashtag. But it was so funny because if you understand, a Gordon Gartrell is probably one of the most famous shirts within the Black community. Like, I can't think of a more famous shirt or fashion designer. Everybody knows Gordon Gartrell. But yeah, it was funny. Anyways, then they get to dinner. And at dinner, Shanice was like, "Oh my God, I got a UTI sliding down the water slide naked." Okay. And everybody was like, "Shanice, we can hear you." And she's like, "Oh, sorry." Like, girl, you really just be talking, huh? Um, then at dinner, you know, Bria asked Jasmine if it was premeditated to have Mariah at the house. And Jasmine's like, "Yeah, of course." And she's like, "No, did you buy her ticket before we voted? Because, Phil told us, blah, blah, blah." And she was like, "It's been purchased," or something like that. Um, she kind of worded it in a way to try to make it seem like that wasn't the case, but it was the case ultimately, because when they showed the ticket, she technically had purchased it 5 days before she asked. But I don't think that's that bad, because if it was really deliberate, she would have purchased it like a month before or 2 months before. But 5 days isn't like crazy town. You know what I mean? Um, and then Jordan hops in, much like she usually does, talking about, "Oh, Jasmine, you should have told everybody before purchasing it, because had the girls done that with Phil and da 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 da." And again, I'm not saying her point isn't correct. I just feel like Jordan has this habit of doing that, in which she just starts hopping into stuff because she believes in her mind she is the voice of reason. And I'm like, it's not you, babe. And it doesn't have to be you. You can leave it. But I feel like she thinks, if I don't speak, they will not hear reason. That's how it feels. And then Summer points out, like, well, give Jasmine some grace, because she was the only person that even brought up the conversation of guests. And everybody's like, "No." And they're jumping down Summer's throat. And she's like, "Okay, dang, I didn't think it was that serious." Y'all gotta chill. And she was like, "I just think that if we're going to be talking to each other, we need to talk to each other like much nicer." And I get it. Like, we all are friends here, or we say we're friends and we all like each other. So why are we getting so like aggressive in our tone and angry? She's kind of trying to chill the moment, but everybody's like not happy. And then Bria was like, "Well, I'm just letting you know that Phil talks to Mariah, and if Phil shows up, it's not because of us. It's because your friend Mariah that you invited is inviting him into our spaces and telling him where we're going and stuff." And I'm like, that's true, because if Mariah had thought, "Oh, I'm gonna pull a fast one," girl, don't come. You know that video of Kamala Harris? Do not come. Do not come. That's like, please, girl. Because Mariah, I'm on your side currently. I like you currently. But if you're going to try and sneak Phil in on this group, do not come. Do not come. Because it will be smoke in the city. Um, yeah. So Jordan does acknowledge in her little confessional that she doesn't think Bria cares that much about Mariah coming. Like, she's not that angry, but because she just maybe feels like unfairly treated, and then she's like making it a bigger deal. And then like everybody's like, "Oh, it's not that deep, it's not that big of a deal." And Bria's like, "It is that deep." I'm like, this girl is so dramatic. Like, I feel like Bria is like 20 years old, but she's not. She's like 29 or 30 or something. And that's just shocking to me, because it's like, why do you act the way you do? You're not a baby. But the thing is, when you've been babied, you tend to act like that. um Then Alex pays for dinner, and Amira asks Summer if she spoke to Shanice yet. And Shanice is like, "No, I haven't spoken to her." So Amir was like, "You want me to call Shanice and see if we can wrap this up?" So he yells out over to Shanice, is like, "Yo, Shanice, did you talk to Summer about whatever, whatever?" And, she explains, like, girl, you know me, I'm really insecure about my clothing because I lost my job. Like, my situation. So making that joke or making that comment was just not like cool to me. And it's funny because, like, I don't know. And I said it last time. I don't know why saying somebody is poorly dressed would be linked to them having a job. Like, if you just lost your job, you just probably haven't been able to buy clothes recently. You Any clothes you already have, you purchased before. So she thinks you don't dress well ever, not just because you don't have a job. I'm like, I don't like you trying to make it about your job, but she just don't think you dress well. I don't think Shanice dresses poorly. I think she just don't wear no clothes. And if that's what Summer meant, like, oh, she just always in a bathing suit, then that's different. That's what she should have said. But I think Summer just doesn't like her clothing choices. But anyway, they apologize, and then that's not what she intended. And she's like, Shanice, you have the best body at the table. Noelle was like, baby girl, I am also at this table. Like, you could tell her face was like, with me at this table? I mean, honestly, I hate to say it. I don't see a difference in any of their bodies. They're all pretty slim, fit girls. So to say Shanice has the best body is pretty interesting because I think they all have similar body types. So it's not really anything different. Um, then Jordan starts to say something and Summer starts raising her voice at her. And she ultimately apologizes. Like, okay, because I feel like Summer's getting frustrated with Jordan doing what she's doing. Bria gets up to leave because she's so upset. Preston makes a joke because she's still fuming about the Mariah situation, but she's just been quiet. So she gets up to leave, and Preston makes a joke that, like, she always gets up to leave. Next time she got to be getting up to leave back home or to Germany. But it's true. I feel like Bria's always storming out, like, and it's such a childish response. But if that keeps her from yelling or fighting with people, then girl, more power to you. Keep getting up and storming out because it's a better response than fighting. I'll give you that. Um, Summer then asked Preston if she went too hard on Jordan and, about raising her voice. And he was like, well, you raised your voice, but she, you know, raised her voice too. And he was like, Summer says, I feel like you guys allowed Jordan to be mean to people. And she clocked it. That is what it is. Jordan could yell at people, tell people about themselves, do all types of stuff, and no one reacts. It's freaking normal. But if someone else even tries to do a little bit of what Jordan does, everybody's like, oh my God, you're being mean. You got to do this or you got to do that. And I don't know why that is. It's a very weird thing. Like, I wonder what it is about her and her relationship with everybody and why she can do that. I don't get it. But she says ultimately she's still learning Jordan. Um, then they all go out, Bria goes home, they all go out, and Alex is there flirting with other women, asking them about themselves and whoop de whoop de whoop. And the other women are like, oh, he's an F boy and this and that. I'm like, just last night, Noelle was in the water sharing cupcakes with a man she just met. Alex can't even talk to women. Y'all got me out here defending Alex? Please don't ever put me in this position again. Why am I defending Alex? Because you guys are being ridiculous right now. Like, absolutely ridiculous. He can talk and flirt with other women because Noelle was out talking and flirting with other men. Like, come on now. Um, then Bria gets home and she calls her mom. She's complaining about feeling played. I'm like, girl, go to bed. And then Noelle brings up how, basically, well, I was just flirting with another guy, so I really shouldn't feel away. And they're like, no, Noelle, you should be able to feel away. I'm like, okay, it's true. She should be able to feel any way she wants about Alex flirting. But how she feels is not Alex's problem. That is what it is. She can feel a way, but because of their situation, her feelings are not Alex's problem. Sorry. And then they were like, oh, well, maybe you should talk to Alex and see, like, where y'all are at. No, don't talk to Alex because y'all are nowhere. Y'all are nowhere. Girl, he couldn't even be gracious for the food you brought him. Leave that man alone. But she agrees and she goes to talk to him and they have a conversation and she tells him like, I'm so sorry, my toxic trait is I'm a bit territorial and I really shouldn't be because I was out flirting with people yesterday and so I shouldn't be mad. So at least she's trying to be logical in her toxicity, but it's hard. Logic and toxicity don't really work, but she's trying and she wants him to consider her as a potential interest. Like, not saying you can't be single and act single or whatever, but she's like, I just want you to consider me. And I'm just like, baby, that's real close to begging. Asking him to consider you as a potential interest is very close to begging. Well, I like you. Stop it. Like, you begging this man to consider you. And that's never a good place to be with a man. And then he basically said that he thinks she's really sweet and he's been through a lot of situations where people put expectations on him and she's like I'm doing now. And he's like, yes. Yikes. I'm so sorry. Like, girl, no. This is just a really embarrassing situation. It's getting more embarrassing by the minute. And then, you know, he just doesn't want to move too fast and he's just got out of this situation with her friend, Summer, whatever. And Noelle's like, I just feel so embarrassed right now. And because she feels like he's just trying to say he's not interested, but in a polite way, which ultimately is what he was saying. And I hate to say it, but Alex is not wrong. If he's not interested, he does have to make that clear. I'm not interested in you. And Noelle was really trying to make it known. But I'm like, girl, if he was not trying to make it known back, yeah, he was doing a little flirting, but he wasn't. I don't think Alex did anything to make you believe he was extremely interested in you based on what they showed us. Again, I don't know what he was doing outside of what the clip showed, but the clips didn't show like he was super duper interested. That's just my thought. And so she just, gets up and walks away because she embarrassed. And then in his confessional, Alex is like, yeah, I feel like she already decided like I was her man, like in this house. And, he didn't want that. Um, but yeah. So then when they get back, they're leaving the club. Jordan is like, Summer, I want to talk to you. Don't get out of the car yet. Blah, 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 blah. And Summer's like, okay. And she like opens the door. And Jordan's like, I said, don't get out of the car. She's like, okay, girl. Like, I just needed some air. It's really hot in the car or whatever. And, you know, she was like, oh, Summer is like, you always want everything to go your way. And then you start attacking people and they can't even get a word in. And then Jordan is like, coming back at her and they're like going back and forth. And this seems so escalated because it almost feels like Jordan was trying to use Summer's problem with Shanice to bring up her problems with Summer. Whatever those problems were, I feel like that's the avenue that she was trying to like go about it. Because you could just tell that this is something that has been building up. Because what did Jordan want to talk to her? Like, yeah, okay, y'all had like a little riff, but you couldn't even wait to get in the house and you want to have this conversation drunk. And it just seemed like Jordan might have already had a little problem with Summer and she didn't know how to bring it up. And now that they've had that little, rift at the dinner table, she's trying to like latch onto that. And so it's funny because Preston much earlier said, when they get into it, I don't want to be in the middle. And now he's sitting in the car in the middle. And I'm like, Preston, you should have got up out the car. That's what you should have done. You should have said, this is not my business. and gotten about the car when they started having their little back and forth. But they just start going back and forth and they yelling, and I'm just like, I don't even know what's going on right now because it didn't seem like y'all had beef, but now y'all have beef, and it's getting weird because I don't know. I feel like Jordan is low key mean. That's just how I feel. Like she's kind of mean to her friends. She feels like she's like, there's a hierarchy and she's at the top and she gets to be the mediator, the person that tells people what it is and decide how everybody moves. And it's just, I don't know if I like it. Tell me what you guys think. What do you think about Jordan's behavior? Is she really that girl or does she need to calm down? What do you think about Summer, Noelle begging that man, Alex? I'm sorry. Maybe she wasn't begging, but it was very close. It was as close to begging that you can get without actually begging. I hope Noelle bounces back next episode and she pays that man in dust. Okay? Dust, baby. Because I feel like she's too good for him. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Please like, comment, subscribe, share my videos, subscribe, like I said. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.